Welcome to the Pondcast, the destination for insightful discussions and interviews on the appreciation, conservation, and husbandry of reptiles, with a focus on turtles and tortoises. Now, let's join our team of turtle nerds.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, quadrupeds, ectotherms of all ages and shapes and sizes, welcome to an episode of the Pondcast. Back by popular demand. We're super excited to be here. We're with Chris Leone, also Kevin Minto of the Turtle Room, and Steve is there in the background. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. And we're very, very excited to have our very special guest with us tonight, Jeff Musial, Jeff the Animal Guy, who you've seen on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and The Roots and iCarly and Eastbound and Down and a bunch of other stuff that we're big fans of. So it's really exciting to have someone here who is a great and such a large scale educator who reaches so many people to talk to us just about all things reptile, all things turtle, but also because he's interested in those things, and in addition to just being the animal guy, but also just all things animal. So Jeff, thanks for being here.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm honored. Big fan of the podcast.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So Jeff and I spoke this morning, and he was like, "Yeah, I love what you guys are doing, and I love watching Chris's YouTube videos, and I watch the podcast and all that stuff." And I was like totally floored by that. I was excited and kind of surprised when you were like, "Yeah, let's do it. This is awesome." But to hear that you actually knew what we were up to and stuff like that is a wonderful thing. So thank you so much for that.
No problem, man. Love the good work. I do my research, but it's funny because I just I'm into crazy turtle. I'm like a turtle addict, tortoise addict, and I'll just punch up things. And I'm like, dude, no matter what I punch up, you got Chris Leone smiling with pancake tortoises, smiling with mountain tortoises, smiling with radiated tortoises. Dude owns the internet with tortoises. I don't think I have tortoises he doesn't have. So when I do a quick search on a tortoise, there's Chris Leone. He's like, "Hey, how are you? Let's talk about Burmese mountain tortoises."
Oh my God!
You got a pretty good chance of hitting DTR or GST with a search.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And Chris is America's turtle heartthrob, so we're not surprised to hear that.
Isn't it Christ Leone now?
Christ Leone.
I thought you were going to address me as such.
Christ Leona, Christ.
It's the hair and the tattoos, and he's got a hell of a smile.
Yeah.
A hell of a smile.
I do know because it makes me jealous.
Blush, jeez, I was not expecting this. I definitely didn't pour enough whiskey for this.
We're 1 minute in. It's terrific.
I love it.
Oh man,
love it. So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you got your start with animals and kind of how things kind of give us your life is like a movie in that how things kind of grew out of an interest. You refused to kind of quit, and you were doing what you do, and eventually there were certain pivotal moments that kind of led to you building what you do and growing what you do. And can you tell us a little bit about kind of how that all went?
Yeah, sure. Well, growing up, I just always loved animals. I just loved animals, and I was do something with animals someday. My big thing was to be a zookeeper. So my thing is I think from the time I was 4 until I was a senior in college, I dressed up as a zookeeper for Halloween every year. With a big ring of keys and a couple of bananas in my pocket, and I just was always into animals. And then growing up, my brother's a teacher, my sister's a teacher. My dad's like, "What are you going to do for a living?" And I was going to go to be a teacher as well. And then I just I kept feeling that pull to want to be with animals. And everything I do revolves around animals. And eat, breathe, sleep, always thinking about animals, reading about animals. It's just crazy. So I wanted to do something that had to do with animals. And, I went to college for animal management. I was like, I'm going to work as a zookeeper. And it just got it just got crazy. And when I decided that I didn't want to, I went to school, like I said, I'm starting to go to school to be a science teacher. I decided, like, why don't I do it my own thing and do educational programs and be my own boss and my own teacher and start my own company. And that's kind of what I did. And it went 20 years now doing this. And it's wild. Like, there's this thing about like who's who in Buffalo. I'm a big Buffalo kid. And this lady did this photo shoot, and I had a couple of years into my business, maybe 5 years in, I had a Siberian lynx, and we went to this big, like, busy kind of New York City-like area of Buffalo, and I had a Siberian lynx sitting on a mailbox. We took a picture, and they talked about, like, who's who in Buffalo. And she's like, big things are going to happen for you. I'm just telling you. I just feel it, And then one thing after another, things just start happening. Like, I got a call to, I used to bring a lot of the animals for, like, Steve Irwin and Jeff Corwin and a lot of animal people. I would bring my animals to use them on the shows. And then one day, Twisted Sister, God, what's his name? The lead singer of Twisted Sister.
D. Snyder. D. Snyder.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Chris, you should have known that one. I'm embarrassed.
I was drinking.
He was drinking.
No, he took the drink after you asked.
He couldn't do the Tonight Show with Jimmy, or Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, because he lost his voice. So they called me and
man.
I'm like, wow, what do I build up and sign up, all at the same time?
Hey Jeff, we lost you there for a second. Can you just back up a little bit? You said that the last we heard was that he couldn't do the show because he lost his voice.
Yeah.
Little laryngitis.
So he lost his voice. Hang on, I'm moving this over here a little bit, trying to get a little bit better reception. There we go. Is that all right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're good now. Yep.
So he lost his voice, and the people from the late night show were like, "Don't get too excited, you're filthy." And I was like, "Wow, what a way to build you up and slap you right down." And we ended up going on the show, and my brother's like, "You know what, dude? I brought him with me, and I brought a couple of animal handlers, friends of mine." And my brother's like, "I'm like, I don't know what to do, And he's like, "Go big or go home." He goes, "I wouldn't go out there and be like every other animal guy." He goes, "Jump on his couch with an alligator, just start getting crazy and having a good time." And that's what I did. And then we did, here we are 47 appearances later. Wow. It was pretty wild, but it all started with just my love of animals. And like, my dad worked for the post office forever, and he was a big time manager, and he'd come home every day just like miserable and hating his job. And I'm like, dude, that's not what I want to do. I want to do something that I love and enjoy. And I know they say, like, find something you love and it's not like working at all. But no, it's what I adopted, kind of my slogan on the wall behind me over there and stuff, says like hard work and things. Do what you love, but it's even harder work because you're doing what you love, and it's that much better and that much because it's on your back. So you want to like really kick butt with it. So it's a lot of work, but it's work that you love to do, So it's it's pretty cool.
Is there a moment, because I feel like it's very general and broad, like, and we all say this, from a young age, we always loved animals. Is there a pivotal moment when you were a kid that you can, recall to that kind of maybe didn't have you say to yourself, I want to, do something with animals when I grow up, because maybe you were that young, or is there a certain type of animal that really did it for you when you were younger? Obviously us guys were just kind of like, oh, turtles are cool. And then here we are like 30, 40 years later going, oh, turtles are still cool,
Yeah, that's awesome. It was funny because there was a thing up here called like the Friendship Festival. And where I am in Buffalo, we're right near a Canadian border. And on 4th of July, their like 4th of July is like the 1st or 2nd of July. So we would go over there for a festival and then come back for 4th of July. And my parents had a cottage up there in Canada, and they had like this petting zoo. Fireworks are going off. and they had these lemurs like in this little crate, ringtail lemurs bouncing off the wall. They're scared of the fireworks. So I was probably like on the 9 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I grabbed the crate and I just started walking off with them. And my mom's like, "What are you doing? You feel them? You can't tell them." Like, they're scared. We're taking them home. That's what we're doing. And I just like always loved lemurs since then. But my mom was like, "Listen, you can't do that." We had the whole talk about how stealing is bad and that kind of stuff. But she's like, "When you get your own house, you can get all the lemurs you want." So
famous parents, last words.
So that's what I did. And but I always loved lemurs and all that stuff. But it was like a real pivotal moment was I was in this place called Hill's Department Store, and they had this like little like Penplex, little like those little plastic containers, and it was a Flintstones thing, and it had like these cave walls on it.
Yeah.
It was a little thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, you can actually own a reptile like and keep them in your house? I thought it was like you just saw them in zoos.
Yeah.
I store, and I bought a little brick gecko, and I had it in my room. Like, dude, this is so cool! I can't believe you can do this. And that was like a big moment where I was like, I want to get a lot of different animals and reptiles and animals,
And what was that? What animal was it again? That you first got there?
It was a little Briberon's gecko.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like spotted, I know they got different names for them now and stuff. Things change or whatever, but It was cool to have that and have that, in actually like in your room in this cool little terrarium thing, and that kind of sparked it. I was like, dude, I got a job at a pet store when I was 14. My dad knew the owner, and I didn't get paid. I would just like work and then like come home with a bond, or I would come home with like I had a brain fart right now. Oh God, what kind of tortoise was that? They just start bringing them back in again, but they don't do real well as imports.
The hingebacks?
Hingeback, yes, thank you. That's what it was. And the hingeback would come in and like into the pet store, and I would get them feeding on like bananas and stuff, and I kind of fell in love with that species. And I'd get those, and then the next week I'd work, and I'd bring home a redfoot tortoise, or I'd bring home, and before I know it, my room was just like full of everything, like it was out of control.
Yeah. Oh, that.
It's cool to hear that it started with reptiles, and obviously at one point it started to move towards the lemurs and the furry and all of that. What was there something that caused that move towards that sort of thing, which I think was probably instrumental in helping you to grow to the level that you had, right? That you had diversified things and had some really cool stuff.
Yeah, this is where I'll give props to my wife, because I started my company and I called it, she was my girlfriend at the time, then we got married, but she was like, I started a company called Nickel City Reptiles, and I did shows with reptiles. And she was like, you know what? Most school teachers are females. And all these female school teachers, they want to see cute things and furry things. So she's like, if you get furry animals, you're shoo-in, dude. You'll do every school in the tri-state area. Like, it's insane. So then I looked into getting my permits, my USDA permits, and I was probably 22 years old. I bred black-headed pythons.
Oh, cool.
No one tried to do it. People do and stuff. I did it. I did a trading. I was selling them to a guy. Some mammals with them. Starting my business, getting like chinchillas and ferrets and hedgehogs. And I ended up going down to this guy's zoo, and he's like, "You're not going to believe this. My dog ate half the money. My truck broke down. My wife left me. Whatever." Next thing you know, I traded them for like a rabbit and a king Jew and a blue and gold macaw, and like all this crazy stuff.
So you ended up trading the black-headed pythons for that stuff?
For mammals, and then my wife was like, all right, let's go, let's do it. And then I changed the name to Nickel City Reptiles and Exotics, and then we just started doing mammals, birds, and reptiles, and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think one of the... Go ahead.
What a lot of people that started doing, like, the educational things, it was hard for me because it was not only what I loved to do, but it was like my passion. So I was like, everyone's bringing out a redfoot tortoise. I want to bring out like a pancake and a radiator, or everybody's bringing out like alligators. I want to bring out like albino alligators. I always want to take it one step further, and like just blow minds, bring out a huge tame rhino iguana, a 7-foot water monitor, like stuff that wasn't just your typical bearded dragon, ball python, redfoot tortoise, end the show with, kids petting a red-tailed boa. I just wanted to go bigger, better, just like really like blow minds. So I think a lot of that had to do with just, I love animals, but I really like the weird stuff that nobody got a chance to see. Because when I did shows years ago, I was kind of scarred because I brought out a bearded dragon, and the guy was like, wow, bearded dragon, I can see one of those in Petco, and we wouldn't have to pay for it. And I was like, so scarred that I was like, you know what? I got to step my game up and just take it to the next level. So, it's my passion, it's my love, it's my, like my wife said, it's like your hobby turned insanity,
Is that, would you say that that's your favorite part of this whole big thing? Is that just being able to share them with the public, teach people about them, maybe bust some myths, and even get rid of some irrational fears, like education, essentially?
Yeah, like that's what the best part about it was when I got on TV and all that, I could yell from the rooftops. But then when I got on TV, it was like a national stage that I could yell it out there and show people and tell people and talk about stuff and have fun with it. But I wanted to call it educational through entertainment. Education through entertainment. So if you're not laughing, you're not learning. And kids, even adults, retain that so much more because it's kind of in like a dad joke style, sarcastic kind of way I deliver it, but people remember it. And then when you remember that, you want to learn more about it, you Google search it, you fall in love with it, and then you like want to save those animals or get more involved in those animals and get your family into like, look at this turtle, I saw this on TV last night, but look at this turtle. It, gets the size of a coffee table, It's just cool, man. Like I just so they want to talk my a little bit, but it's hard because people just want to talk about it all the time.
We lost you there on that last part. Can you repeat those last few sentences?
No, I said it's hard because I do what I love, but people want to like. I'm pressing on here. I'm cutting in and out.
I can hear you pretty good now.
Okay. I said people like want to talk to you because it's like a different job than anything. But it's funny because my wife will be like, "All right, we're going to a wedding. Don't talk about animals. Don't talk about your camels. Don't talk about lemurs. Just talk about normal things." And as soon as we get there, we'll sit down at the table, and the people are like, "What do you do for a living?" I'm like, "Okay." Like my wife, I'm like, "I'm an educator," and they're like, "Oh, like a teacher?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess you could say that." And then someone will be like, "Oh, how do I know you? You look familiar." And I just kind of like, I got a familiar face and just hang out. Next thing you know, the animal talk comes in and my wife's like, "Oh, here we go. All night, animals, doesn't stop."
Does your wife want to come on Turtly Devoted? Just wondering, asking for a friend.
Yeah, sure.
Good, okay.
There you go.
My wife was already asking.
There's not many more things more interesting than animals, so I'm not sure why anyone would be bummed about it. But
well, it's because
I just think it's because everywhere we go, I've been doing this for like 25 years in the Buffalo area. So like we would go to get kids' school supplies, and the lady would be like, "Oh my God, the animal guy." can I talk to you about my bearded dragon? And my wife's just like, oh my God, I'm trying to get color folder to get out of Target, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, he gets annoyed with it, but I'm like, yeah, sure, let's talk about your bearded dragon. How big is he? Blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm down to talk animals all the time.
Well, that's good, man. It's you don't shake that passion, and that's important. It's important for the animals too. If you lose it, that means they lose you. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's great. And I'm sure you probably at times maybe you want to talk about something else, but it's great. What you've been able to do, is awesome, and the fact that people recognize you. You know what I mean? That's you're making movements. You're opening up doors for better understanding on a lot of these animals. Especially the stuff that people like you were saying, like the furry animals, the fuzzy stuff, like Tiki here. It's lovable. Everybody loves that stuff. But when you're able to use that as maybe a segue to open up a better understanding on other things, like an alligator that people might just think is a killing machine, or a turtle that a lot of people say all the time to us, why turtles, aren't they stupid? And we're like, well, no, you kind of are, and here's why. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's like I try to do stuff like, and when I got into doing the mammals and birds, I kind of would be like, all right, start off with a bug, go to an amphibian, do a reptile, then a mammal, then a reptile, and just kind of sprinkle them in and get people into it. Just get them like falling in love with the stuff that sometimes you can't fall in love with.
Yeah.
Or people I don't fall in love with.
I think that's really cool. Also, at the same time, though, like, so one thing with turtles, when people come and visit my collection, I'll talk to them about how, like, a lot of the animals here are rare. They're the sort of thing that, like, you might see in a zoo, or maybe you won't. But like, it's small species that their adult size is small. Those animals are not necessarily sexy and an educational thing, especially because, like, I've heard you talk about this before, and it's something that I always think about. Like, when I do an educational talk, there's a lot of education and research of my own and experiences and things that I put into that, but it's not as sexy as it could be if I like tried to if I was focused on educational experiences for people. Like, you have to get the large alligator snapper. Like, don't keep this breeding group of blah blah blah. Get a crocodilian, like all of that sort of thing. And when I'm talking about people about what's here, or I do an educational talk, it's like, here's a lineup of 15 turtle and tortoise species that all are small, and it's like one after another. Like, to the general public, I was just talking to Charlie Moorcroft about this, like a small radiated tortoise or a spider tortoise or a Florida box turtle, they're all the same thing. They're all a black turtle with yellow star pattern,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that that's something that you also have really embraced and have used to your advantage as well, and have reached such a huge audience because of it.
Yeah, it's like, and I don't, whatever people do, any kind of education, whatever you're set up for, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I don't think like people have to have this to do this or have this to do that. Like, education's education. And if you get out there and educate the kids and get them into it so they want to do it more and get into it themselves, that's awesome. But with me, it was always like, no, it's hard because I still love like box turtles and spotted turtles and automatas and pancake tortoises but yeah, that was like the problem I had too. I would go talk about turtles and tortoises and have a bunch of them. One lady would say to me, she's like, they don't look the same to me. You should have water. They're not in water. They're uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh my God, you didn't even listen to anything I said in the whole talk. The difference in tortoises and turtles, you're upset because, they're not in the right container in water. And it was like, it was just crazy. So, like, I started, like, trying to get into more things, different things, bigger things. Like, I have 2 giant alligator snappers that I bring out. a big mata, but I just think education is education, and everybody does it their own way. And, as long as you get out there and you educate the kids, that's what it's all about, man. Even some adults. But everybody has their own style, their own flavor, how they do things. I took a little bit more shock and awe, which, could be good to some people. Some people maybe don't like it, but because I was just and I love animals and want to yell it from the rooftops, So that style and thing, but I just looked at it like I wanted to talk about all animals and a little bit of everything and just bring everything to the masses.
I think that's great too, because for some of you out there that if you're having a hard time understanding what's going on here, we got a little bit of a wonky connection. But going back to what Jeff's been saying here, I think it's really awesome that you have such a wide variety to teach these people. You know what I mean? And even like you were saying before, with you show them something like a bird or a mammal that's cute and fuzzy and soft, and nobody associates it with doing anything evil, and then you bring something else in, like an alligator or an alligator snapping turtle. And there's that wow factor there. That alligator snapping turtle, an adult male, can probably take your hand off, but he doesn't want to do that. You know what I mean? That happens because of human error. And that's something that I'm sure you're able to teach people, and maybe hopefully change some minds on what some of these more like mainstream shows are always, trying to, how it is with television. They want to show, they want to show you the animal that's going to kill you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they want to show you the animal that, they may not actually say it, but they're going to leave you, or at least try to leave you with thinking that the animal does want to kill you, And then someone like you is there to come along who actually is on national television to say, no, you know what I mean? Yes, this animal, and I think that's a really important difference there for people that really don't have any knowledge outside of a cat or a dog, maybe, when it comes to wildlife or animals in general. You're able to show them on a really big scale, a mainstream scale, that, hey, this is the truth about this animal, and you're still able to have that wow factor there, because you have to find a way to captivate that audience, you know what I mean? And an impressive animal, whether it's something that can be dangerous or something that can't hurt you at all, if there's something impressive about it, like its size, its color, that's how you grab that audience, and you can actually instill in them the truth behind something,
Yeah, and my thing was, I just wanted to get out there and have an alligator and kiss them on the head and talk about how they're great mothers, and how they dig their babies up, carry their babies to safety, and do all that kind of stuff that they're not just killing machines, and show the cool things. One episode I did of Fallon, I had a badger, and I could feel him building up like he was ready to explode. So then I scared Jimmy Fallon with him quick. And that helped get that angst out of him. So then next thing you know, he was like, all right, cool, I feel better. And I kissed him on the head, I rubbed him. And then people emailed me like, dude, I can't believe you were kissing a badger, But I want to talk about him and show the good positive things about him, not just things. Bring out a baby snake and talk about how the mother wraps around the egg when we still hatch, and then, right afterwards, see you later. They might hang out for a few days, but then they go, which most moms would have anyway with their kids, hang on to them for a few days and then send them to college. See you later.
Yeah. Yep.
But I've always just loved, animals, and getting into animals and doing anything with animals that I could, and turning it into a job. It's like a lifelong dream.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Jeff,
incredible.
do you have any things coming up soon that our viewers can watch you on? Are you popping up on any shows anytime soon?
No, you know what? The TV world's still kind of shut down with stuff, which is sad, because, this whole COVID thing is holding everyone back. I've had a lot of offers to do Zoom things, but it's not the same. It's I can hold an animal and talk, but it's not the same as being on a late night show with the guests and having the animals there. So maybe I should do it, but I kind of hold off because I keep thinking like, okay, things are going to get better soon, right? A couple of weeks, maybe a month, we'll get back out there. But it's like, I want to be there and have the host see them and smell them and feel them and that and play off each other like me and Fallon do, or me and Steve Harvey do, or just have a good time with it, not just So unfortunately, I'm doing a big wildlife festival up here in Niagara Falls, New York, last weekend in September. Things are starting to open up a little bit more here and there, but TV stuff is the slowest to open right now, which is sad because I want to get back to that as soon as I can.
What's Steve Harvey like?
Dude, it's so funny because I went on that show and my wife said to me, she's like, go out there and talk like a gangster. Don't start rapping. Don't try to be like, go out there and do your thing. And the first episode, halfway through it, it was like, you could tell it was just uncomfortable. So I just like let loose. And I was like, yo, you're from Cleveland? I'm from Cleveland. I'm like, what? And he was just like, did you just say what? And on my show, and we just had like fun with it. And then once he saw like my true personality with them and just goofing around, it was really cool. He's a really cool guy. He says a lot of inspirational stuff. Yeah. And it's really cool. Like he would talk to the audience during like a commercial break, and like a lot of stuff he'd say, it was weird. I'd kind of be going through it in my life at the time. And talking about, because I worry about stuff, if you have animals, you worry about animals, you worry about their care, you worry about, so he's like, worried, never paid a bill, blah, blah, blah. He gets in this whole spiel, and I'm like, dude, that was pretty awesome, Yeah. I'm driving back from Chicago to Buffalo, and I'm like, just taking to heart everything he said and just trying to like live life a little less worrisome, I guess you could say. So yeah, he's really cool, man.
That's awesome.
Cool dude.
Did you any of these TV experiences where you're actually on the show, but obviously backstage behind the scenes and stuff, leading up to your time actually live on the show or afterwards, do you meet anybody like either that's part of the crew that works the show, or security, or even other celebrities that might be there that are animal people? Like for example, like Slash from Guns N' Roses, he was on one of the covers of Reptiles magazine. He's a huge snake fanatic. John Feldman from Goldfinger wanted to be a herpetologist. Instead, he's producing, like Hillary Duff,
Right. It's crazy because a lot of these celebrities go on these shows and it's the same thing. Hurry up and wait. Sit in your dressing room, drink a bottle of waters, eat off the plate. But then, like, wait a minute, there's an animal guy next door.
Yeah.
Animals? Everybody, dude. From like Eminem to Ludacris to Snoop Dogg. I was in the hallway at Jimmy Fallon with Snoop Dogg, and I'm like, yo, Snoop. I'm like, can I wear your gold chain? And he's like, you need to calm down, cuz. You need to calm down. I'm like, yo, let me put it on. And he's like, stop saying yo, cuz. So next thing you know, I'm wearing his
stop saying cuz.
Yeah, I'm throwing the West Side sign up, and I'm wearing his gold chain with an Uzi on it. I got a Polaroid of me and Snoop Dogg, from 20 years ago, and it's just like, so it's cool, man. But like me, the craziest one behind the scenes was Josh Brolin was in my dressing room. His mom owned a wolf sanctuary and took in a lot of rescues in Oregon, and he grew up there. So my brother is doing stuff, getting the stage ready for my thing, and Brolin's in the dressing room with me. My brother walks in. I have my shirt off. He's got his pants down, pulling up the leg. My body, 1990. He's like, wolf, in his leg. And we're like comparing scars, and that was really cool. So I'm like, you're a big fan of yours, Thrashing and Goonies, and he just started laughing because he's like, oh my god, Thrashing, and
and that was Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin.
It's funny. I was in a movie with James Brolin.
Where were you? Yeah, look at that.
Anthony knows about it.
Bad Girl Island.
Girl Island.
awesome.
A movie so good that they renamed it 5 years later.
Yeah.
Mystical. That's when you
right.
know it's a good movie.
Oh yeah. Sounds like a porn, but it's not.
It wasn't getting the clicks, you know?
I was gonna say that. I'm glad you did, not me.
I thought it was. I thought it was one of those adult films like softcore that comes on Cinemax late at night.
When we got on
And
set at first, we were like, "Wait a minute."
I watched it and I'm like, okay, well, when does something happen here? And it never happened. I just watched the whole movie. I'm like, wow, that was the worst movie I've ever seen. And then come to find out later that my friend Chris is in the movie.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
You watched it prior to knowing Chris.
Yeah, I knew exactly what movie
really?
it was.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
Chris,
that. I thought you. Oh my God! Wow,
dude,
look at
I
that.
knew that movie. The young lady who's the star of the movie is very attractive. I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a few minutes. Next thing I know, credits are rolling. I watched McCord.
Annalyn McCord.
Wow. Any relation to the turtle McCords? No.
I certainly hope not for his sake. Oh God!
Oh goodness gracious, that's funny.
Yeah. Wow.
All right,
is
Jeff,
funny.
what animals haven't you worked with that you want to?
Question.
I worked with a lot of stuff. I really want to work with Red Panda someday. Red Panda.
Red Panda. I heard him say Red Panda.
Yeah.
That's all right. It's like real glitchy here all of a sudden. I don't know if we're having like a wicked thunderstorm outside. So
Oh, there's a storm. Oh, geez.
yeah, that's why this is kind of sketchy here because it's real. I can hear it pounding on my roof up here.
Well, I heard you say Red Panda.
Yeah, Red Panda. I'd like to work with maybe some African dwarf crocodiles. I think that would be cool. I'd like to work with Wolverines. I would love to mess with Wolverines. And I have bear cats, I have badgers, we have skunks and things like that. But I think a Wolverine would be incredible.
Yeah, that'd be insane. You said you have bear cats? I got to tell my wife that. She worked with them at one of the zoos that she worked at. That's awesome.
Bear cat or binturong. They go by. We have a pair of them. I love them. They're incredible. Mountain lions. I have a pair of mountain lions. I love them. I raise them from babies.
Wow.
Yeah, it's and all these programs that people saw me on, they were all my animals. Like I raised them. They will be with us their entire life.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you if they were all your stuff or if you acquired certain animals for shows. Like borrowed.
I used other people's animals. Just weren't like mine. It's really hard for me to. It was really hard for me to, try and use other people's animals. So a lot of times when we were on there, I tried using my own animals as much as we could.
Right. What turtles do you currently have in your collection? I know you said alligator snappers.
I have a couple alligator snappers. I have big ones. I mean, I'm talking 30 plus inches, like monsters that we've had now for over 20 years. I get a big mata mata. I have spotted turtles, North American spotted. I have a CBW permit, so I ended up getting myself some Hamiltoni.
Cool.
Yeah, I love those. I got some of the Argentine side necks, some Cyber Rockies, pair of those, albino red-eared sliders, some golden threads. What else? A couple different size, smaller alligator snappers, Eastern painteds. Yeah, dude, I like turtles.
Are you leaving out tortoises, Jeff? Because
well, he said turtles.
You see, smart guy. Smart guy.
Because I know you keep a lot of tortoises. So and you breed tortoises as well.
Yeah, you know what? It was hard for me. It was very hard for me because as you guys know, you're turtle and tortoise junkies too. You're like, it's like one of those, like when you're a kid growing up with G.I. Joes, man, you want to collect them all, you know? So you're like, oh man. And I know Chris is in on this because I follow him on stuff and he's like, oh dude, Herman's tortoises, I'm going to have all 19 species, you know? So like, I got into it and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get Russians, and I'm going to get Hermans, and I'm going to get Greeks, and I'm going to get, and then it was funny because I had all these tortoises, and then I was like, you know what? I love them, but I really want to keep stuff and breed stuff that I really, really like. Not just have them to collect them and say, like, I have 4 of these, and I have 6 Greeks, and I have 6 Russians. I never got an egg from them. But so as soon as I started kind of going, like, I talked to a friend of mine. He's like, hey, I'll take all your Russians, and I'll give you a pair of captive bred adult female pancakes. I'm like, bingo. So I kind of cut it down where I went with, I have a 2.6 pancake tortoises. I have 4 baby radiateds that I'm raising up. I got Burmese stars. I have some leopards that I bred, raised up and hatched, and raised them up from babies and then bred them and hatched their young, which was really gratifying. And I got a couple Aldabras. Like when my kids were born, when I was born and my brother and sister were born, my dad planted trees. When my kids were born, I bought an Aldabra tortoise for each of them and raised them up.
It's awesome.
I love freaking Aldabras. You know I live in Buffalo, but I try to get them outside as much as I can, bring them in for the winter. And then we were kind of like a safe haven for sulcatas. Like I got some of the Sudanese, I believe that's how you say it. They're like 30-something inches, monsters.
And we should pull up the photo of the one at Andrew's place.
Yeah. Like third largest.
There is a tortoise as big as Anthony. We met it.
Wow. Yeah, I ended up getting them from people like a friend of mine had a zoo in Pennsylvania and huge Aldabras from Jeff G in Arizona years ago. And his huge Sudanese sulcata kept smashing his Aldabras. And he's like, dude, I don't want a sulcata tortoise to damage these. So if you want them, he's yours. And I'm like, okay. So I took him home in my cargo van, and this thing beat the living crap out of this van. So when I got home, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? When I turned that van in, people are like, what the hell happened? And I'm like, oh, I'm not even going to explain it. But
we're fostering a male right now, and there's no history on him. I don't know if he's Sudanese or whatever, but he's giant, and he's only been here a couple days. I'm hoping he's not going to be here much longer. Did I say that? But he's so destructive. He's every time I'm out in my building, he's on the other side of it. There's 2 rooms in there, and I'll be in there and it's like nice and peaceful in the one room, and all of a sudden it's like bang, and I'm like, oh my God, and I go in there and the dog's like, and the thing is just, so hopefully he goes soon, but I know what you mean. They're very destructive.
Yeah, so it's kind of like when I downsize, like, okay, rather than collecting them all, what do I really want to work with? And what do I really want? And it just, honestly, it's crazy. Like, I don't have like Greeks, and now I'm getting the bug to get some Hermans again, but when I got rid of the Greeks and the Hermans and the Russians, it probably wasn't the best because it was my wife helped me and she's like, these are really pretty and these are really pretty and these are just brown. So get rid of those. And these are just brown. So get rid of those. And I was like, oh man, like I shouldn't have, but I kept when I really sat down, we were at dinner and me and her, and I wrote a list, like, what would I keep? Like, she goes, if the plane up in flames. I'm like, don't say that. If you built one in flames, what animals would you keep? And I put a list of what I wanted, and that's what I kept and worked with. And I kind of downsized a little bit on tortoises that I liked, but I wasn't truly in love with, That's
a smart move. Anthony and I have talked about that a bunch of times. And even me, like, I know it looks like on our social media page that like we're swimming in them here, but we've done a lot of that. A lot of, okay, this animal is here for a reason, you know, for whatever that is, and you know, all kinds of stuff like that. And I also love, like with friends, you know, like just an animal I care about, like just giving it to them, you know what I mean? Just so that it's kind of still in your life, you know, rather than just sending it off and, oh, well, who knows what happened to him or her, you know?
Right. And that's kind of what I did. Like my buddy had like a couple random female pancakes that he wasn't doing anything with. But he's like, you know, I'd really like to work with Greeks. So I was like, okay. So I traded them. So they're not totally out of my life. And I'm hoping and trying to help him with breeding those.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it just seems like when I downsized a little here and there, I had more success with what I had.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that totally.
We've talked about that a lot recently, is like just focusing on a few animals as best as you possibly can instead of trying to have everything. I've been hearing it more and more, and it makes total sense.
And it's hard, you know, it's hard to gain that discipline, but in the end, it's better for the animals. And like, you know, with us here, you know, we have to act as basically a rescue too, because we deal with a lot of confiscations and stuff. Yeah. And you know, it's thrilling and it's fun to like take those animals in and go through them and know that like after what they've been through, that you're able to get them out of that. You know, Anthony and Kevin have come down before when that happens, when animals are coming through the turtle room or directly to Garden State Tortoise. And once the dust settles and everything, it's just like, man, that's a lot of animals. Half of them are compromised, you know, and it would be nice to just, you know, like you were saying, you know, be able to just focus in, hone in on something, give it everything you absolutely can. And, you know, I think that's important for a lot of people, that just like you were comparing it to GI Joes, and that's like the best comparison ever, you know, like, you know, it's like, oh, this one's got a star pattern, I got to have that. This one's got polka dots, I got to have that. This one's just brown, but it's so tiny, I got to have that. This one breaks walls, I got to have that, you know, like, and the next minute you're like, oh, it just broke my wall, I got to get rid of that, you know? So you know.
It was just hard for me to kind of focus, but I did with what I truly loved. And I was like, you know what? I love pancakes. I used to breed the Sri Lankan stars, but that was so much heartbreak. I would hatch babies. They would have failure to thrive. You know, I would like, they would just crash. You know, then, you know, they were just really tough. And then when I learned more about the Burmese stars, I'm like, I'm going to go that way now. They get a little bigger, but the babies are hardier.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I was like every day, like staring at these baby Sri Lankans and like just getting myself set up for another heartbreak. And I kind of was like, I love them, but I'm going to get them to somebody that's all they want to work with, you know, and I'll work with like the Burmese now, because I know they're a little bit hardier and I don't have to have that heartbreak, because it's just, I love animals. I don't want anything to perish. I don't want to breed something and just watch the babies crash one after the other. And, you know, it just stinks. Yeah. So I was like, you know, I was like, all right, I love the Sri Lankans, but I'm going to go with the Burmese stars, you know, and so far I've loved every minute of them. And I just bought a couple more from Randy at Tort Stork, 3 little babies, like last week. And I raised those up, so I'll have a nice group of like 6 of those. I got my radiated tortoises now, which has been like a lifelong dream to have those. And it's funny because I got a CBW permit, so I could get them over state lines. And then my buddy Dan in New York,
it's Tarantino.
You know, what the heck, man? Here I'm searching far and wide all over the United States, and my buddy, you know, right there in New York, you know, which was cool. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Did you have a question, Chris, about who that was, or are we not doing that? Did you regret it afterwards?
It was
because you didn't go back to it.
That was Tiki. I mean, the guy I asked about, I know he's not doing anything wrong. I just realized maybe I shouldn't blurt his last name out.
You forgot that we were on a broadcast?
We'll be right back after these few messages.
Hell with it. Nobody's listening anyway.
I gotta ask, what about snakes? You got any snakes? Tell us about snakes.
Yeah, I have a lot of snakes.
Snakes. I don't know snakes.
I have.
Sorry.
I have.
Home Alone quote.
one of probably 5 people in New York with a venomous snake permit as well. So
Wow.
I have, king cobras, gaboon vipers. I'm a rattlesnake lover, so I have a lot of different
Cool.
rattlesnakes. We have the retics, red-tailed boas, Dumeral ground boas, Hog Island boas, albino ball pythons, pied albinos, children's pythons, Macklot's pythons, just everything that I love.
That's awesome.
Rex and black snakes, anthill pythons, albino
I wish he
boas.
was naming all this in like the Bubba Gump shrimp voice. Right. Emerald boas, king snakes.
I was thinking that when you said it, that was crazy.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Dijon shrimp kebab, shrimp salad,
All
shrimp
king
and
cobra.
potatoes.
Damn, they kill you.
We got ball pythons, Macklot's pythons. Yeah, so
That's
I love
about it.
snakes. I love lizards. I got a really big Agurnia collection. So I have Strokesii and which are the Gidgee skinks, and I have the
Oh, those are cool.
yeah, I love them, and I just had a bunch born, 5 babies a couple days ago, and I have the Depressa, I have the Hosmeri, I have the Cunninghams. I love, I'm a big Agurnia freak as well. And then I do a lot of dwarf monitors, Kimberleys, red Ackies, yellow Ackies.
I've always loved Ackies. Never kept them, but I love them.
Dude,
Yeah, they're really cool.
They're just so freaking cool. I got green trees that I'm working with now, green tree monitors. Yeah, man. I just a little bit of everything. I really like we said about the GI Joes. I was like, gotta collect it all, and then I'm like, dude, what do I really freaking love? And then as soon as I did that, I started cranking things out, man. Gurney, green tree monitors, Kimberly rocks, red ridgetails. Then I have my bigger show animals, big water monitor, a big black, a big caiman lizard, a big tegu.
Very cool.
I have a shinkback skink, which kids freak out over because it looks like it has the 2 heads,
Yeah.
So I have my show animals, but then I have my own little passion projects, I guess you could call it.
You gotta have that. It's. I think we're gonna do our little feature here, right? Minto's mailbag.
Minto's mailbag.
Wait.
Minto's mailbag.
What do we got,
Okay.
guys?
All right. So first question is from friend of the Turtle Room and Turtly Devoted, Dominique DeFalco. Anthony knows. I don't know the name of her podcast. I apologize. I know Anthony's been on it, but Anthony, what's the name of it?
Modern Medusa. It's a wonderful podcast that highlights and celebrates women culture and herpetology. It's incredible.
Awesome.
And we support it. Contrary to the amount of white males on this podcast, we support her venture very, very, very forcefully. We love what she's doing. She's tremendous. I love her and what she's doing with every fiber of my being.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dominique, you'll be a guest soon on the show. But after that, the question is not directly turtle related, but she would love to know how and if Jeff provides enrichment to a varied collection and how that differs between animal groups.
Whoa. I don't even know if we got enough time on the podcast for this one because I'm huge with enrichment. My wife, who's a hairstylist by trade, also helps me with my animals. So we're always thinking of different ways to enrich animals' lives and make it better, and the money I make from these TV shows, I just put more and more into my animals, bigger outdoor enclosures, different kinds of toys and things that, we switch it up where the lemurs, for instance, we do different stuff with PVC tubes and treats and stuff. So they got to try and get the stuff out, and dig through it, things like that. Tortoises, we'll do stuff like I'll move their food around in different spots. So they actually got to look for it and move around to look for it. Same thing with like the turtles. One day I'll do like throw bloodworms in there and mix that up, and I'll move some different plants around so they get earthworms in there. They got to search for it. I'm always trying to think of things to keep the animals going, keep their minds going, keep them thinking of things, doing things. Not your same old like put it in a bowl, put the bowl in there. No, the parrots, I give them different types of toys and stuff to destroy, and just that's tough because it's a big question. I could go on forever with all the different things we do for the different animals I have, but enrichment's a big part of my thing. For Christmas, my wife will wrap up a bunch of treats and put them in with my spider monkeys and my capuchins and my lemurs. So they got to rip the boxes apart, My dad has a pond on his property, and we'll get a lot of fish from him. So I'll put those in with my gators and my caiman and my alligator snapping turtles, so they get some like live fish and actually have to lure the food in with their tongue. They're not just getting handed, fish off tongs all day long. So I could go on and on and on about that, but it's I do things like, it's crazy, but like I'll take a wiffle ball and put like a chunk of like shrimp in there and put that in with my red-eared sliders and my golden threads and let them just keep picking at the ball and spinning that ball around and just like keep them going in there, do. So that's the thing with me. I don't want the animals to be bored, and I'm always thinking of it one way or another, how I can step up my game to enrich their lives. Like in the fall, I let my animals outside. I make sure I rake all the leaves in their enclosure so they can forage through the leaves for food and, eat the leaves and play with the leaves. And it's just always something, or I'll build like a snowman outside, put treats in it. So my Siberian lynx or my Arctic fox will go out there and like destroy the snowman looking for food, So I could go on and on all day about it.
The amount of animals that he just named during that quick enrichment segment, it's kind of like, if anybody on this chat asks what he has, you were not listening. That was awesome. Personally, I hate it when my Arctic fox doesn't, play with it. That was awesome.
That's the toughest part, But I have the biggest animals I own are camels, which, when I first got a camel, the lady told me they're like potato chips. You just can't have one, and she was right. So we had to get 2 more.
Camels are like potato, of all animals, like potato chips.
Yeah.
I wanted to name them. Well, the first one we named Humphrey, because you got to have a camel named Humphrey. And then I got 2 more, and I wanted to name them after like old guys. So I named them Henry and Jerry. I just thought it was funny, And then some people whose names are Henry or Jerry get pissed off. They're like, "I'm not an old guy." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but it's funny, man. A camel named Jerry or a camel named Jerry."
Yeah.
So I love them, but they're enrichment. I'll go out and put like hay up in the trees, or put carrots up in the trees, or under some rocks, so they got to go out and like search for stuff, so they're not just sitting around bored,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a lot of animals.
That was a great answer, a thorough one. Nice job.
Short, sweet, without getting too crazy and taking up, an hour on all the enrichment we do. But with my USDA permit, you have to do like enrichment stuff for the animals. But we just always try to go above and beyond for the animals, because if we have them and we own them and we love them, you always want to do the best and more for your animals, no matter what.
Sure.
So that leads me into my next question, which is actually my question. The amount of animals you listed is extremely expansive. Is this on your personal property? You have a facility, and being in Buffalo, Buffalo's a fairly expensive place to live. Do you think there'd be a better place for you to have all of your animals that'd be more cost effective potentially?
Well, I'm in the outskirts, I guess you'd say the country part of Buffalo. And I have 72 acres.
Wow.
About 20,000 square foot facility, indoors, outdoors. And yeah, dude, it's like my building, we called it the house that Fallon built, because all the money I would get from going on these shows, I would just keep investing into all right, let's add on another room. Okay. I have my walk-in incubator where I can incubate snake eggs, ackee eggs, turtle eggs. after Fallon one time, I'm like, dude, I'm going to build a walk-in incubator, and I'm going to put all my on like a plumbing system, and that's what we spent the money on. And we just kept going on and doing better and better and more and more. And it's funny because I do this because I love it. Like, you see people that are like, "Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make so much money." Dude, no, you're not. My feed bill's $10,000 a month. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like people just, unless you truly like when COVID hit and stuff, and I was like, dude, what the hell am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, like my mom's like, well, move the animals out and get another job. I'm like, what? Like, it's like too late now. That's like telling somebody like COVID hit, sell off one of your kids. You know what I mean? So you can make it. Like, not going to happen, So it's
this is your life.
But I love it. And, I got to just keep doing what I'm doing, man. Yeah, you just got to keep going at it. And, we're set up now. So it's just, I don't know. I'm happy with where I am. I'm happy with, we've had offers to move to Florida and move to Texas and different. And I've even thought about things with moving to Texas or doing, but I'm a big Buffalo kid. I love Buffalo, and I just love it here, and I love the Four Seasons, and this is where I am, man. My family's here, my roots are here, and I just want to make it work.
And you're doing it, man.
Yeah, I definitely think you are, and what's great is, Kevin, your question I think is really important for everybody listening and anybody who might watch this later on, because obviously, people recognize you from the Fallon show and all that stuff, and they see that, you're not just some, schmo playing with animals. But a lot of people that have these species are not doing well by them. They're not giving them enrichment. Maybe they don't have a proper facility. And a lot of people might be quick to point at you and say, oh, he's way up in New York. He could throw a rock at Niagara Falls. How could he possibly be doing this right? Well, you clearly are. So your question is a segue into letting people know how you do it, but the cost of it, not necessarily just financially, but what you have to go through to properly keep these animals happy, for lack of a better term, healthy, maybe reproductive, and able to sustain a life where they aren't just bored and just staring at four walls or something like that. So, it sounds like you have, 72 acres, damn, you've got an incredible facility, and that's really awesome. And like, I hope like some of the people out there that like are religious on YouTube, thinking that that's like the only thing that should be watched, see this, because YouTube is littered to the brim with kids that are buying animals because their state allows it. Okay. And they're making money off their YouTube videos just to unbox them, show them off, and then they don't know what the hell to do with them. Okay. So, and that's taking over. That's a problem. That's a major problem.
Yeah. I started up a YouTube thing, and then COVID hit, and I was like, I showed like, it's Jeff Animal Guy or Jeff the Animal Guy, and I showed one day like feeding my animals, and I got a really good guy, my buddy Danny B, on the video camera and editing, and it was fun. But I was like, part of me, I wanted to do more of it, and during COVID, it was hard because I couldn't have outsiders near my animals because I didn't want to spread anything. I don't know what it is, or how it could affect my animals, and they're my first priority. So I couldn't really bring people in here and shoot stuff. But you're so right, dude. It's like I don't want to be that person that like opens something online or like, look at what animal I got, or I'm going to the airport to pick up that. I don't want to be that person, It's like, and it's hard for me because I'm a very private person, but I gotta put stuff out on social media. You gotta stay relevant. You gotta do things, but it's like, that's one big thing that bothers me, that like the pet tubers, I guess you'd say.
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Then where does it end up, or where does it go? Or like, I know so many people that started doing this. I have a facility that I built from the ground up. And I know so many people that do this that are like, oh, I'm just going to keep everything in my parents' basement. I'm going to have a 14-foot retic in a 4-foot cage, or like, that just sucks. Or I'm going to keep my alligator 3 feet long in a 75-gallon fish tank. Like
That's
just
exactly
sucks,
what's happening.
you know?
That's exactly what's happening, and it's sad, and it's painting things for animals in a bad light.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. These kids are living in their parents' basement. They're making $1,000 off a YouTube video and going buying a Dilophosaurus or whatever. You know what I mean? And they're setting it up in a 10-gallon tank, and then they're like calling their dude. I don't know what to do with this thing, but I got like 47,000 views in an hour. It's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I just think it's awesome that like we're getting this side from you to hear like what like people see you on the Fallon show or whatever, or any show that you might be in the future, and they're just like, that's all they see really, is the quick segment of you being on there, but they don't know what you go through.
No, I really appreciate it. This is the first podcast that I really am able to talk about stuff, because the biggest thing is people see me on these shows and you see these animal guys, they don't even own a dog, dude. They don't even have a cat. Like, I walk the walk, talk the talk, blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, man. Like, I do this because I love it. When I'm out there yelling about animals and screaming and yelling, that's to attract attention, yes, but it's also to get the word out there. But yes, I walk the walk, man. I own these animals. I bust my ass to feed and care and take care of these animals. And like, it's cool to let people know that side, because a lot of people think, oh, he's just like, one guy emailed me and he was like, oh, you're just a clown with animals. I'm like, dude, take it however you want, but these are my animals. This is what I do for a living. I educate people. I was lucky enough to get myself on some late night shows and Today's Show and all this stuff, but I do what I love. But it's my whole philosophy in life has always been the animals always come first.
Yeah.
I've been on so many TV shows, like, when an animal attacks or do this or host this, and I turn it all down. So it's hard for me when people, he doesn't care about the animals. I'm like, dude, if I didn't care about the animals, I'd be doing these stupid TV shows when animals attack or whatever. I don't want to show negative things about animals. I just want to show awesome things about animals and do stuff in a positive way. And, yes, there's some sensationalism, or I'm on there screaming, jumping on a couch with an animal.
Of course.
But, I know my animals. I love my animals, and I walk the walk and talk the talk. I'm not the guy that's like, oh, I'm an animal guy, but I don't own a dog. Like, that's hard for me. That's a hard pill for me to swallow with a lot of people out there.
Well, that's again, you're bringing a positive light, and that's what's needed more than ever, because that's all that's happening now on these YouTubers and stuff. And even some of they're not all kids. Some of them are grown men and women too, that they're making something bite them for views. I had somebody comment on one of my videos, word for verbatim. They said, because I always ask people to subscribe at the end, and they said, let me know when that alligator snapper bites you, then no, let me know when that alligator snapper takes your finger off, then I'll subscribe. Yeah,
the ignorance, like every time I do something, the comments I would get from people, it was just like, just dumb stuff. Like, oh, I hope that thing takes your face off one day. Or I hope, like, it's just the ignorance. That's the toughest thing for me, because you just got to get past that. I know what I'm doing. If I could turn somebody on to like alligator snapping turtles, and maybe their dad like does a snapping turtle cook-off every year, but he saw me on a show with a snapping turtle and how it's like a freaking living dinosaur, and they changed something in their family, so now they do a vegetable soup cook-off every year, and they don't do the snapping turtle thing. I feel like I did something right, and to me it's like, I feel like, that's the toughest thing for me, because I just don't want people to take it the wrong way. And it's just the ignorance with the people, like, oh, hey, I'll subscribe when you die, and blah, blah, blah. It's just, I get the same things, and it's like, dude, I can't. That's why it was so hard for me. We did a couple of YouTube videos, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. I really don't know if I want to do it.
YouTube's a tough place, man. It's evil half the time. But keep doing the way you're doing things, because it's amazing. And personally, I would love it if you went out, because it's almost Halloween, bought yourself a hell of a clown outfit, put it on, took a picture with all your animals, and sent that guy a Christmas card with you dressed that way. That would be awesome.
I like that.
And
It's
Merry
that.
Christmas, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. You know?
It's hard for me because I'm New York tough, man. I'm a Buffalo kid, and I'll snipe you. Like I come back quick. Like everything you've seen on Fallon, our back and forth, none of that's planned. I just come up with stuff fast. So it's so hard for me because I write a doozy of an email, and my wife's like, "Don't you dare send that." You know, and I'm like, I want to destroy somebody when they say something, but that's the toughest thing for me is to not fight back. You know, walk away, man. Chalk it up to ignorance and walk away. You know.
Yep.
I understand. Yeah.
But,
I love when you say,
like you said, that's what gets me too. Like I had, I do a lot of educational things. So last week I was done doing a school program, and this father walks up to me. He's like, "You see this show? These guys are catching and killing invasive turtles. Do you watch it on YouTube?" And I'm like, I just stared at him, and it was so hard for me to go like, why the hell would you watch that? Like for
that.
kill invasive turtles. And then he's like, "Oh, did you see the one where the guy kills invasive snakes, or the one with the guy that lets everything bite him?" And I'm like, I can't get into that. I just can't get into it. It's like that. There's so much negativity with animals. I want to bring out the positivity. The cool stuff about them. Not like let's kill things and they're gonna take over the world, and it just sucks. So it's a tough thing for me. So that's why I watch Chris Leone's Pancake Tortoises on YouTube.
God.
that's why we all do.
What were we gonna ask him?
I was just gonna say, like, I really co-sign and appreciate what you said about like showmanship, and I do trainings for work, and sometimes they're larger trainings, and they're 17 hours long, which is a long time to sit and listen to somebody talk to you. And I train them on like the culture and history of our organization. It's for veterinary professionals, veterinarians and stuff. Like training a big group of like a veterinary surgeon in it and stuff like that. And to keep a surgeon's attention for 17 hours is like a daunting task.
Yeah.
And we do a lot on communication too, which is really useful, I think. But like when you're having these conversations, like there are moments when I feel myself losing them, and there are moments when I feel myself when it's like I got them, and it's a really exciting moment. And when I see you on Fallon and stuff like that, like there are certain things where I'm like, I don't know how scientifically true that is necessarily. I would question maybe a little bit. But like there are some things that I would never question, and don't take that the wrong way. That's just me. Like when it's about turtles, stuff about so many different animals that I'm just like, I have no freaking clue what he's talking about or what the species is, and I'm super excited, just like anybody else would be. But one thing that I can see and that I love is I can see the passion, and I can see you captivate the audience, and like Jimmy or whoever else is there is like totally like playing right into it, and you can see it. And the way that interaction works between the three of you, him, and the animal, it's like it's so captivating to the audience. And I really think that that's the takeaway here, is like the thing that you say that I love is like, if you've got them laughing, then you've got them learning. And when you can feel that like innately within you, like I got them, everyone's laughing, everyone's entertained, no one's on their phone right now texting, like it is happening right now, and they're watching it and all eyes are on me. That's a really great feeling, and it's something that I see you have. And when I see you have it, it reminds me of when I have those moments on obviously a much smaller scale, but it's a good feeling.
No, it's awesome, man. There's nothing like that when you got, what I like to say is you got someone locked in.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
It's so similar to, I've compared so many things in how things go in the animal world, and being public about things or doing presentations, whether it's something I'm doing or any of you or anybody else that I follow, with the engagement that's weird that Steve just said that. See what I did? I saw his message, and I was deer in headlights.
As Chris said, engagement.
So I like.
You almost did well, but then you didn't.
I almost did well. See, it's your fault.
And then you blew it. Yeah, you didn't have to stop.
I know. I know. You know what? I gotta check myself out. I'll leave. But I compare it to being involved in any kind of show business, and especially in music. You could go on stage and even if there's people in the crowd that know your songs and they're fans of your band, you know what happens after the song. You go up there, you open up the show, you play your first song, and you turn around. That's what I would do so many times is you'd end the first song and turn around, and I would just look at my drummer and just wait, like cringe. What am I going to hear? And that reaction right after that first song, I know if I've got him or if I don't.
Yeah.
It's similar to giving a presentation. And it's I think it's good. Like I don't know if you get like butterflies or stuff, but I think a lot of us still get that, whether we're going up in front of just a class of kindergartners or if we're going up at a big conference or if you're on stage for something, you get those butterflies. It's because you're passionate about it. You still care about it, because you want those people to receive it in the right way,
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you nailed it. It's still, I've been doing this 20 something years, 24 years, and then TV and that for probably 15 of it. And still, every time, dude, you get the nervous jitters, and that's, to me, is like you nailed it. It's a good thing. If you don't have that, I feel like you're not alive,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a great point. One thing I wanted to bring up, and we can get close to wrapping it up, and it's such a shame because we spent so much time wishing your connection was better, and then it got better towards the end, which is really great.
Yeah, it's been really good.
But I love the story that I heard on another podcast, and I just kind of want to ask you to elaborate or go into it a little bit more. Well, now he's gone. Did we just lose him?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh no,
okay, he's here. His picture just went away for a second. Okay.
There he is.
So the idea, the story about when you were first kind of going to the late night shows, and it may have been around the Twisted Sister time, and one of the producers kind of had you in a back office, and like where Jimmy would work or whatever, and there's like a bunch of sticky notes behind, and it said on one of them, "Get Animal Guy." Like, was that sticky note meant for you, do you think? Or did they want to get an animal guy and you wanted to make sure that you were the one?
Well, yeah, dude, it's funny because I've done all this stuff. I have a manager and an agent now, but I landed the Today Show, and the late night with Jimmy Fallon, Steve Harvey, before Steve, all the stuff before Steve Harvey, I landed myself. And I just did it by, squeaky wheel gets the worm kind of thing. You know what I mean? I always make these little things when people are like, no, that's not how you say it, but that's how I say it. Like I mess with it, mess them up and get people aggravated so they want to correct me. But
it's not rocket surgery.
But I was like, in high school, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get on a late night show with animals because I always had reptiles and stuff growing up. And everyone's like, yeah. Well, I was bringing animals for a lot of the late night show celebrity people and stuff using my animals. And then it was like I was on one show and they were like looking for it. I heard through the grapevine they were looking for an animal guy. And I was watching Jimmy Fallon's YouTube things, and there we go. Jimmy Fallon's YouTube things about looking for an animal person, and they had a sticky note on the back of the wall in his office, and it said "Animal Guy." So all of a sudden, I went like full steam ahead, and I start like sending my headshot and a reel of like local news stuff and everything I did, and I sent it to him. Every day, man. It cost me like $5 at any mailbox I was at. I would toss it in the mail. And next thing you know, I got on that show. And Jimmy Fallon, the first time he came in, he walked in my dressing room. He's like, "Hey, I already know what you look like. We got like the 8th floor of Rockefeller Center wallpapered with your headshots. And we do skeet shooting with your discs off the top of Rockefeller on Tuesday and Thursday nights, I'm like, dude, squeaky wheel gets the worm. He goes, I don't think that's how they say it, but you're here. I'm like, you got it. Let's go, man. Let's do this.
That's epic, man.
Yeah, man, it was wild, and long story short, I sent Dee Snider a cookie basket for that. And many years later down the line, I ran into him in Rockefeller Center in the basement. He's like, "Dude, thanks for the cookie basket, man. Jeff the Animal Guy, he's like, we love it. Those are great cookies." And I'm like, that was just cool, like just little things over the years, man. But that was pretty wild, and it felt like one hell of an accomplishment to be able to do it yourself. And yeah, man, it was cool.
That's awesome. Those are some of the best stories I've ever heard.
Yeah,
That is
I
really
really
cool.
enjoy all the animals, but that was my favorite story.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And as a like as a really big fan of like pop culture and like different shows and some risque shows and stuff like that, Eastbound and Down is one of my favorite shows. I used to, every night there was a new episode on HBO, I would sit down with my uncle and we'd watch Eastbound and Down together. And I don't remember seeing you on the show, but I have to go back and see it. So for whatever reason, I don't
It
recall.
was the last season, and it was when Kenny Powers had the talk show, and they needed an animal guy for the talk show. They had me on there, and I was like, I do kids shows for a living, and I go on these TV shows. I love Eastbound and Down, but I'm like, dude, they can get a little dicey. So let's
They
let's
can.
just see what happens. It was a blast, and it was one of those like dreams come true. Like, wait a minute, you asked me to on you want me to do on what? And they're like, he's fine. I thought my buddy was pulling my leg, and yeah, we went on and did Eastbound and Down. I did iCarly cameo. I did an SNL skit called Bathroom Cobra with Vince Vaughn, and he hands down the coolest celebrity I've ever hung out with in my entire life. He's a touch of class. He is such a touch of class. I mean, he was like, God bless you, good luck with everything. He gave my wife a hug. Just like a freaking awesome guy, dude.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was funny because, not to go off topic, but when I get to meet these celebrity people at things, because everybody loves animals, and they just want to, like I was saying, go through the same old hurry up and wait. If there's someone there with animals, they want to see them. So, I would hit it off with certain people. And the thing I always hated was somebody that I really looked up to and really enjoyed their movies. If I met them and they were a total douche canoe, it just ruined everything, Yeah. And sorry, I didn't know if I could say that on here, but when I met him, he was hands down, just like he was in the movies, the coolest dude. We were playing off each other. He's like, the Cobra Kid's here, and he doesn't want to play around. I'm like, Double V wants to hurry up. Let's hurry up. We want to get to lunch. And we were playing off, and he's like, I like your style, kid. I like your style. You know what I mean? He goes, do I get street cred for this? I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, we're in the B-Lo. Like, he remembered I was from Buffalo. And just a cool dude, man. I hung out with him on the set of SNL in a brownstone in Brooklyn for 10 hours. He was just an awesome dude. My wife and him were hanging out in the dressing room. Just so cool.
That's so awesome. That really is.
Yeah. So it just makes it so much better when you really like somebody and you watch their movies and then you actually meet them. Wow, dude, that guy is stand-up dude. It makes it so much better.
Yeah. Wow.
You should ask him to be a guest animal handler and just don't even say his name. Just be like, I'm bringing another guy out. He just walks out.
Oh, yeah.
We thought about that. We thought about that on a couple of different occasions because I brought animals for a celebrity friend of mine on Michael and Kelly's show, and he was a guest, and he showed up, and he's like, oh, you're on this show? And I was kind of pumping the brakes because my buddy was on. He came over, was talking to me, and my celebrity animal friend got all sorts of upset because he was like, Vince Vaughn's coming over here. He's probably going to want to talk to me and see the animals. And he walked up to me, and he's like, Jeff from the B-Lo. Do I still got street cred? And this is 6 months later. And I was like, wow, that was so cool. You remembered that. Well, it really pissed off my buddy, and we didn't end up working together anymore off that because it just got very upset with the whole situation where, you got to know your place and things. And when I would bring animals for people, I'd always kind of pump the brakes, but, that's their time to shine. I'm just bringing the animals, and they got all upset about it. But it was just showing what a cool dude he was to even remember that experience 6 months later, just
for sure. Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? You're and don't take this the wrong way. You're an over the top personality, which I tend to be too. And my wife and I get talking about animals for the same reason your wife does it to you. And Vince Vaughn is coming up to you, wanting to talk to you about reptiles. And what are you supposed to do? Give him the cold shoulder?
Yeah.
Sorry, Vince. I can't talk to you right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. How would you? You know what I mean?
he walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, what's up, dude? From the Below, the Cobra Kid." And the guy I was with was like so upset about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they thought he's like, "Oh, just come over and talk." I'm like, "Oh, dude, I know my place with things," and I was like, "I'm not whatever," but I'm like, I'm not gonna let him hide or ignore him. So I just talked to him like, "What's going on?" And he got really upset about it. But yeah, it's whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do. And
Yeah.
I don't want to put anyone off. And just I don't want to change who I am either. So.
Right.
It's why Chris and I aren't as close as we used to be. Like Chris and I were really close, and I was his number 2, and everyone knew it. And then things change.
Who's
I
my
love
number
Counts
two
names.
now?
that video. You guys are like Robin Big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, we are. Yeah. Who's my number 2
Yeah.
now? Tiki's getting mad at me. He won't even come near me.
I don't know. Kevin Pollak.
Well, you
I don't
don't come to see me anymore. That's the problem.
Because of how you acted that time when Vince Vaughn was there.
When Vince Vaughn was there. Yeah, Vince Vaughn, Lost World. Yeah.
Jurassic Park 2.
Because you know that would be me too. If I saw Vince Vaughn, I'd be like, "What's it like to work with real dinosaurs?" I love that guy.
Oh my God.
I wonder who's telling for him.
He's
I
great.
am.
He's a great dude. He's super cool, super down to earth. Like just like you'd see in Wedding Crashers. Like they kept trying to film this shoot with my Cobra. They went and bought this very expensive piece of glass, and from the head up, it's Vince Vaughn. From the head down is me. We wore the same clothes. Like I stunt doubled for him. I'm using albino Cobra in this little bathroom in a brownstone. It's called Bathroom Cobra. And we were like, he goes, I show up and I got a shotgun case with all my tools in there, my hooks, my tongs. And he's like, he don't mess around. This dude don't mess around. Cobra Kid don't mess around. He shows up. This dude's legit. He's legit. He came. He's ready to rock, baby. He's ready to rock. Cobra Kid is in the house. Just like Wedding Crashers, dude. I mean, I was like, this dude. But I'll tell you a funny thing, though. When we first got there, we walk up the stairs in this brownstone. And then my wife came with me. Because he's like, I don't come with you a lot of stuff, but I'm coming with you. So we walk up this brownstone. He's sitting in his like director chair, sitting back. And we walk up the stairs, and my buddy Larry's there with me. He walks in carrying a case. I walk in with the Cobra in the case, and my wife walks in behind. And Vince Vaughn's like, hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. And then my wife walks in, and he's like, well, and hello to you. And I was like, I'm gonna hate this dude. I'm gonna hate this dude. Like, and then it was just his personality, but like, 10 minutes later, we just like hit it off, and it was crazy. But I was like, please, the whole time I'm like, I really like this dude. I really like this actor. Please don't be please don't be a dude. Please don't be a douche. And he was awesome. So it made it so much better working with him.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Really cool. I want to keep this going forever, and we could keep this going forever. And I'm so grateful for your time, and I want to be mindful of that. I'd love to continue the conversation, continue to collaborate somehow. I'm telling you.
Part two. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there haven't been many people we've had on multiple times. Chris Leone is one of them before he was a co-host. What do you got, Kev?
So we've been known from time to time to put requests out there and put people on the spot. So I do from time to time go to Buffalo with my wife and her friends that live there. Could we do a turtle room video at your facility?
Yeah, I'd be down to do something. Totally. If I'm in town and free, because I don't like to kind of bring someone in and be like, all right, cool, see you later. Feel like impolite, if you will. But yeah, if it works out where I'm around and there's time, and why not? COVID thing's over, and get back to bringing people around the animals and stuff. Yeah, you guys can kiss a camel.
That's really cool.
Awesome. Can't wait to kiss a camel.
Check out this YouTube video of.
Now.
Yeah. Check out this YouTube video of Kevin molesting a kinkajou. It'd be great. Molesting not in the sexual way, but molesting.
My kinkajou is pretty cool, but
Kinkajou.
They're pretty rough little creatures, man. They can get pretty nasty.
So can Kevin.
All right,
He looks all sweet on the outside, but
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
He's the sickest. He's the sickest puppy out of all of us. I could tell you that
I'm
right now.
depraved. Let me tell you, I'm depraved.
I don't know what that means, but I don't want to know.
yeah.
This is a family show, okay?
I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm
Don't
sorry.
be a douche canoe. All right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Listen.
I've learned a lot.
Sorry, that's my word.
That's
I
my
was like,
new
I
favorite
say that
term.
all the time. I'm like, should I say that?
It's not that bad.
It's gonna happen. I'm like,
Squeaky
oh.
wheel. Squeaky wheel gets the worm. Don't be a
Yeah.
douche.
Yeah.
Too. And
Yeah.
what was the other one you just said? Oh, come on. Oh, it's not rocket surgery. That's
It's not
awesome.
rocket surgery.
I'm gonna steal
I
them.
agree.
I'm gonna steal them. I'm gonna steal them. I'm gonna use
They're
them.
great. Yeah, they're the best.
You know,
Don't threaten me with a good time.
how I roll. How I roll.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Listen, thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks so much for being here with us. I'm happy that the tech stuff worked itself out once the storm seemed to pass. I just can't thank you enough for your time. And it's wonderful, and I look forward to the next time that I get to hear you talk about your life and adventures and all the stuff that you're doing.
For
It's
sure,
great.
guys.
For sure.
It was my pleasure. I'm honored to be on the podcast. I'm a big listener. Keep it up. You guys are awesome. You know, it's an honor here, and actually, it's one of the best podcasts. I feel that like you got to see a different side of me, that not just the crazy animal guy that people just you get to see it and hear a little bit more that I normally don't get into. So it was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys that kind of pulled that out of me a little. Kind of cool.
That's great.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah. Cool story, bro.
All right.
What I had in mind.
Great. Speaking of which, episode 80. That's it. Thank you, guys.
80 in the books.
Appreciate y'all.
All right.
Oh,
Good night.
thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
Bye.